This is very interesting, this vote. It's not shaping up the way I thought it would. Okay, so the vote is through, and family values did not win. It came in with 46% of the vote, whereas the civics lesson came in with 54% of the vote, even though the text before was saying that the civics lesson was basically an edifice of Nazism. Which is really interesting, considering the current state of affairs in certain countries in the world. Now, question for you. Those of you from America, do you do the Pledge of Allegiance as part of your school class? Like, that's me. I generally don't know. This is something I've heard here in the UK, that Americans do the Pledge of Allegiance as part of their school class. That is such an American thing. Like, patriotism being taught so bluntly in school. Like, you would just not get that here. Yeah, you get some very pro-British things, like a little bit about colonialism, which doesn't really touch on the bad stuff. But, like, actually having a Pledge of Allegiance? Wow! I did the pledge, but I went to private education. Don't know, they don't do it anymore. They did when I was in school, though. Not anymore. From pre-K to 12th grade, yes, but didn't have to. Start of Boy Scout meetings. Actually, that's interesting. Because Scouts here affirm their loyalty to the Queen. Maybe I misread it, but then I thought that Civics was more teaching how the government works. No, Civics was teaching patriotism. I think we did in elementary school, but the Iraq War started and we were questioning things, so they ended it. Yeah, that was like one of those things that, having grown up outside of the US, I always thought, well, for a country that loves freedom and democracy and stuff, and then like pledging your allegiance to the state, always seems a bit off to me. Anyway, civics lesson is what we're doing, so that's with the Whigs. Oh, family values was the Patriots. Huh. I purposely breezed over these because I didn't want to see. Interesting. Civics lesson it is. So how are we doing in terms of the balance here? Because we're going pretty heavily Whigs. Yeah, we're up 17%. Interesting. In Turkey, we used to take the oath about how we'll dedicate ourselves to our education, basically by the torch that will be the light. Will light the future of Turkey. That's cool. Stand up for the national anthem in Canada. I mean, standing for the anthem, I think, is just a sign of respect, because they do that here in the UK as well. And that's another big difference. Like, you almost... I'm trying to think, like, having travelled through quite a few countries, at least in the Western Hemisphere, the only country that I can really think that has loads and loads of their own flags flying, especially on like people's private residences, is the USA. I still see that as almost uniquely American, like just how much you revere the American flag. Freedom is a registered trademark of the Coca-Cola Corporation. Civics class is more of an economics class to me, as we spoke about money and such. Yeah, I mean, civics here is how the government works, as opposed to saying Britain is the only way. Respect the national anthem and flag, but no pledge of allegiance. Yeah, that's basically how it is here. Seriously, wasn't forced. I ignored it for most of my time in school. Flag thing is really weird. Hangover from winning World War II. I mean, you would have thought that would be a thing in Britain as well. Britain did fight for a little bit longer. But here, now, flying the English flag outside, unless the football's on, is seen as, like, acknowledgement of the right wing. Which is a big no-no. And that's a weird one. It's like how the English flag has been politicized. The Union Jack is fine, but the English flag, like just flying that in your window, unless there is the English football teams playing, not many people do that. Having lived in Japan for many years, seeing some of the people not even feel comfortable standing for the anthem or flag really opened my eyes to how odd the practice in the USA. Yeah. Always made me a little bit uncomfortable when I was in the US seeing all of that. When the next DLC comes out, I suggest you guys search and read about Kemalism. It's a very interesting ideology. Yeah, I'm interested about that. One of the things which really stuck out in my mind, which some of my Turkish friends told me when I was at university, is the first national industry that Ataturk started were breweries. In an Islamic nation, that was kind of mind-blowing. But he did it purposely to say, we're a secular state, we're not a theocracy, sorry. The Pledge of Allegiance is probably the thing that started my disillusionment with the American way. If we're so free and awesome, why do we swear loyalty every day? Yeah, exactly. Anyway, okay, onwards. It's just fascinating. Like, when that vote came through and having gone the way it did, I was like, okay, so how many of you do this in school? Because that's what that was saying to me, was doing the Pledge of Allegiance. I think I'm going to hold off on the National Education Act until we've done the conference. Now that we've met with the leaders individually and secured our government along with the Crown, it is time to hold the first official meeting of the National Democratic League. All of the party leaders shall be given their opportunity to speak to the League regarding its future and the future of England as a whole. It shall be a great occasion for us to display the internal unity of the League to the world. Alright, let's hold the conference. That was a really interesting vote. Okay, so we've got the improved attack Hephalopters, so we can now produce those. The next one's not until 1970. Do I want to get the scouting ones as well? I don't think I want the transport. Unless we go for commandos, which we could. Was this the game where the... No, Mountaineers was the Iraq game. Yeah, we have no special forces at all. So I think we're going to go for the Scout Hephalopters, because maybe we'll do recon. We probably won't need a huge number of these, so the slight usage of aluminium might be possible, especially if we do... I mean, Jellicoe's in charge. We are probably going to go pro-Navy, in which case we're going to try and keep transport open. The ability of the Hephalopter to both hover and maneuver makes this machine ideal for reconnaissance operations by widening the cockpit, lightening the armor, and removing some of the heavy weapons, and create a helicopter able to be the eyes of the armies. I don't usually read those, but that one's interesting. Alright, next technology. That was artillery. Man, we've only just hit 1960s artillery. Oof. I have a feeling we're just a little bit behind. I find helicopter cavalry really strong in TNO. 30 kilometers per hour is insane. I mean, a lot of the vehicles in this are very, very quick. That's anti-air. Which I think just comes with a blanket -8 enemy air support. Yeah, it does. Oh, okay. It's not something you actually need to make. I mean, you can, I think, to strengthen the AA of your units, but you don't actually have to. What happened to the SAS and the SBS? I don't think they ever got... Well, no, they would have. Because Sterling was commandos, wasn't he? Maybe in honour of Sterling's contributions, we should have more of an emphasis on commandos. I mean, it's a new sector of the research tree to research, but we can do it. Because we're basically done with the research I wanted to do. Day 1 of the NDL conference. Gentlemen, ladies and esteemed party members, said Prime Minister Jellicoe. Welcome to London. Welcome to the first party conference of the National Democratic League government. This set off wide cheers and applause. Then again, if they wouldn't applaud that, then what would they applaud? We have much to discuss, starting with the recent victory that our party achieved at the polls. The New England has spoken, and the New England agrees that what the NDL stands for. A strong England, a united England, and an England that moves into the new world without turning its back on a glorious past. No matter what we come across or obstacles in our way, we must remember this victory. That the first government of England chosen by the people was ours. that our platform was endorsed by the people, that we must stand in the ranks of the party and of the people to give them what they want and what we promised them. More applause. The party was receptive to Jellicoe's message of unity, and hopefully they would keep this spirit of cooperative unity through the other speeches that will be held this week. Stevens is up next. Yeah, I'm just doing all of these coffee-stained ones in the London accent, just to differentiate them from the world news. Too often in previous governments, the poor have been ignored, left without the resources they need to adapt or the skills to improve their position, said St. John Stevens. The collaborators have allowed this crisis to spread. The war has expanded it enormously. We must address this issue immediately. An NDL government must not leave the poor and destitute behind. Moreover, as a recently liberated country, we have a duty to help the other nations under the yoke of the authoritarian oppression. Our victory has encouraged the peoples of the unfree world. We must join with the other democracies to encourage the cause of freedom, to give the oppressed our aid and help in the eternal struggle for freedom, and to ensure the cause of liberalism marches ever onwards. More applause for the Foreign Secretary, but also a few boos and echoes. These were not SDP protesters who had infiltrated the meeting. Rather, they were Patriot Party members. They were not happy with the content of the speech, and many other rightward members of the party were sitting on their hands during the speech. Despite Jellicoe's words yesterday, strong divisions did still exist under the surface. Hopefully they like Powell's speech a bit better. Let's begin on the aftermath. Well, that could have gone better. Our internal divisions have been exposed to the world. We will need to work harder in order to mend the divisions between party lines in the League. Only once we have united both the Patriots and the Liberals beneath the banner of the League can we secure a democratic future for England. England need not be reminded of its former glory, said Powell, for it is all around us. It's in the grand structures made by our ancestors, the canals dug by them, the monuments built in their honour. England has a proud past, one it must remember and cherish as it moves forwards. Yet is filled with the disasters of the age that England finds itself in. Buildings bombed out and unable to house people, widespread poverty and unemployment, the rise of socialist attitudes and beliefs. All of these threaten our country and must be addressed in this new administration. But just as worrying and as disastrous for our country is the total transformation to which there is no parallel in 1,000 years of English history. What thousands upon thousands are alarmed at is the rising influx of immigrants into our nation. We must be mad to permit thousands of people to overwhelm our lands and the people who live here. As a woman in my district said to me recently, in 10 or 20 years the black man will hold the whip over the white. Shut the frick up, yelled a man, and the convention descended into a sea of chaos. Everyone was shouting at the man on stage, at the people yelling at the man on stage, at the people yelling at the people yelling at the man on stage. Nobody could hear anything over the speakers anymore, and the media was firmly focused on the disaster unfolding in the stands. Throughout it all, a shocked Jellicoe could only stare before being quickly escorted out of the building. Why can't the SLP have these problems? I feel like I might be quite glad that I've saved up this much political power for this. This might be harder to heal over. Norman St. John Stevens had the most amazingly camp posh voice, so hearing Mordred do him as some kind of cockney gangster is hilarious. I do like this voice, I'll be honest. It's also quite easy to do, doesn't really hurt the voice. The aftermath. Where do we place the Whigs, uniting the party, or what do we do with the Patriots? What do we do? I think I'm going to fix these two first, and then we'll work on the Democrats. Unless this is a thing over time. It's not. Let's work on the Patriots first, because, wow, some of the things that he was saying there. Oof. The right-wing Patriots Party is in an odd situation. In a rare point of agreement with the SLP, and the Whigs vehemently oppose them, calling them fascists. Regardless, we need them and their influence in the right-wing sections of the population, just as with the Whigs. We must decide where to put them. Whether we place them in our higher-up influential positions or in the lower-down less prestigious positions, something must be done with them. Start with the Patriots, they're weaker right now. That is also true. They only control 11%. The moderates are still by far and away the most, which is good. This seems like a great conversation to have in the Hot Topics portion of Discord. It kind of does, doesn't it? Maybe even slightly beyond that. More importantly though, how's the economy? Deficit of only 153 million, that's gone down from 400 million. This is awesome. The mass production of these consumer factories seems to be helping. And this is even better because I think we have a 100% utilization at the moment, don't we? Yeah, we do. So civilian spending, sorry, construction spending is as high as it could possibly be. This is the absolute maximum. The Dergavanga Brigade declared war on the Ural League. Go Urals. The Patriot Party is a bit of an issue. They are necessary to get things passed in Parliament. However, they have an habit of supporting the unpopular and unpalatable things that make Jellicoe nervous. So how do we satisfy them? One way is to give them more control over the ministerial appointments. The more people they can get into positions of power, the more satisfied they'll be. And the more exposure in the press will also help. Everyone loves the limelight, and that might just make them more satisfied with how things are going. But do we really want Powell to be the face of the party? We still need the Liberals to pass the bills, so maybe it's best things just stay where they are. Patriotic Party would be UKIP? Probably BNP? Possibly UKIP. Somewhere between the two, if there's really much difference. Right. Let's go and switch over to this. Issues with patriotism. Give them a boost. Or keep them where they are. And vote. Or EDF, yeah. Oh, sorry, EDL. Is it EDF or EDL? I thought it was EDL. Could be wrong. English Defence League. English Defence Force. No, it's English Defence League, EDL. So, get your votes in. Vote, vote, vote. Patriotic Party are way more radical than UKIP. Yeah, I don't think that this is UKIP. Also, UKIP are kind of a one-point party, which is why they're a non-factor anymore. They've done their damage. EDF is an electricity company. There you go. Fortified, thank you very much for the follow. Welcome to the channel. What ideologies have our neighbours ended up with? Interesting question. So the Welsh are Social Democrat. Very Social Democrat. Cymru Goch are definitely winning. And then SNP in the north. Liberal Democrat. SNP is liberal? I guess compared to the alternatives they are. Vote, vote, vote. Get your votes in. I think they're liberal because they made the Conservatives the Unionists. Yeah, possibly. What about Ireland? What about Ireland? Republic is authoritarian Democrat. And Ulster is CAP. Also authoritarian Democrat. Ulster is actually part of Ireland in this, not England. Interesting. Okay, so the vote is in. And giving them a boost got a rather remarkable 41%, which I'm a bit surprised by. But keeping them where they are, 59%. So we're going to keep them where they are. And Etiladus, thank you very much for the contribution in channel points. So this is going to increase the Democrats and increase the Whigs. Strength of Democrats increases regardless. Keep them where they are. Sway the right. Or should we do like that one, then 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 that one? Rather than going all in on one side. Where do we stand now? 9%, 18%. Interesting. Let's go with the Whigs and see what we think about them. We need to do something with the more liberal members of the League. They need to be assigned to various positions throughout the government. We could place them favourably in order to garner their support. They will surely appreciate this, even if the Patriots do not approve. Alternatively, we could use them to fill out the lower, less influential positions and place our own people on top to consolidate our control. Almost run out of loot trying to keep the nation on a centre-left path. Military austerity has ended. No, it hasn't. Keep it going. 113 million deficit. The death of Prince Demchon Dongrub. Prince Demchon Dongrub, a political and military leader of the Mongolian steppe, has died following a violent bout of stomach flu, which ailed the old man for several weeks before his passing away. Despite being a largely obscure figure outside of East Asia, Demchon Dongrub has been perhaps one of the most prominent Mongolians to live and die since the reign of the Khans. Through his efforts, Outer Mongolia and Inner Mongolia have been reunited, and a popular insurrection in Mongolia in the early 1960s was beaten back. Some decry him as a Japanese puppet, others herald him as a champion of Pan-Mongolianism. Whatever your belief, he is now dead. His funeral is noticeably empty for the death of a head of state, the highest level dignitary from Japan being an ambassador in Nanjing. With his death, the charismatic Prince Dungur Sulong has taken power. A tragic day. Also, this is a very different sort of S&P given what we've been shaped by. It suggests thinking about the coalition party of the early post-Soviet eras, like the Civic Forum in Czechoslovakia. That's true. Hey, Marshall. So we've almost finished with the Whigs. Also, our army is now fully retrained. That's good. How are we doing on technology? 11 days and then we get the artillery. And I think once we've gone through all of the artillery line, so we'll get to this because this one's going to be ahead of time, then I think we may start on commandos. Maybe we'll train a unit or two, just so that we have them. We no longer get the effects of the repatriation of the English, so our manpower is no longer going to grow as quickly. A ruffled Whig. The Whig faction's a bit of a conundrum. On the one hand, their support is needed to keep things running in Parliament, and their positions are often close to the ones Jellicoe holds in private. On the other hand, they sometimes end up causing friction with the Conservative faction of the party. So, what do we do with them? We could get them to quiet down by giving them what they want, more ministerial position to get them to be satisfied with our government, and would therefore allow us to move forwards with a more conservative position without too much complaint. Press time will also make St. John Stevens extremely happy, but that might also prove disastrous. Conservative members of our party may be angered that these people are being made the face of the party, and maybe just keeping things where they are for now might be the best course of action. So, once again, we are doing a lot of polls today, blimey. New poll. I think I might start making these 1 minute instead of 2 minutes, just so we can get through them a bit quicker. So this is going to be give them a boost. or keep them where they are. And vote! Get your votes in! Vote, vote, vote. Where do we place the Whigs? At the head, of course. And actually, seeing as we were talking about where the Patriotic Party would be in terms of probably EDL, the Whigs would probably be the Liberal Democrats. In fact, what are they considered in this? Yeah, Liberal Democrat. Thought so. NDL would be your typical Conservatives, and then the Patriotics, which actually have no power on this at all, would be... Oh no, there they are. Authoritarian Democrats. Yeah, it would be EDL, definitely. Whigs are Lib Dems and Centrist Labour. Now, Centrist Labour is the Reformists. New Labour. Then the hardliners would be Old Labour / Corbyn. EDL onto party though. No, but they're not quite so bad as the BNP. Wow, wow, okay. Interesting. 50-50. Complete tie. Agent Striker contributed 18,000 points. Thank you very much for that, Agent Striker. Well, in that case, I'm going to need to do a tiebreaker, which is going to consist of me rolling a dice. I do have some coins, but they're kind of out of reach. So 1, 2, or 3. And it's going to be keep them where they are. No, sorry, 1, 2, or 3 is give them a boost. 4, 5, 6 is keep them where they are. It's a 6. We are keeping them where they are. So the Democrats goes up and the Patriots' strength goes up. So we are balancing those two a little. Conservatives are now up to 10%, Liberals are at 16%, and the moderates are maintaining their 74%. Okay, sway the right. Many right-wing voters have been refusing to vote following the loss of the collaborationist government. If we are to achieve a strong majority over the SLP, we'll need these voters. By using our good friends in the Patriots, we should be able to sway these voters using the Patriots' right-wing and conservative ideals. SLP are literal communists. Yeah, saying they were Corbynites was a bit unfair. SLP reformists are closer to Corbyn. I'd say the SLP is closer to Blair. The Committee for the Liberation of the Peoples of Russia declared war on the West Russian Revolutionary Front. Okay. Now I'm surprised that this has not caused me to use any political power yet.